This is Jordan Lally with the Ed Lally Foundation and the acoustic rock band Big Infinite, inviting you to a very special live music event at the Havre de Grace Opera House on May 23rd. We will be hosting not only a concert, but an experience of togetherness and connection for everyone in attendance. And all proceeds from this event go to benefit the Ed Lally Foundation's mental health and suicide prevention outreach. We would love for you to join us. For more details or to purchase tickets, visit edlallyfoundation.org or head over to the Havre de Grace Opera House website.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch or fast pitch?
I never played softball. It's probably the least sexy part of work, and I don't have the answer. It's okay. No. The truth is,
Today, I'm honored to welcome Bob Wischer to Conversations with Rich Bennett. Bob is a visionary leader, life strategist, and personal development coach dedicated to helping men break free from their status quo and step into a life of purpose, connection, and fulfillment. As the founder of Men Becoming Better Men, Bob has worked with over 100 men to reclaim their sense of self, strengthen their relationships, and build a foundation for lasting success. His mission is clear. God, I feel like I'm back in the Marine Corps hearing this. No man forgotten, no brother left behind.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Wait a minute. Prior military?
No, actually not at all.
Really?
Really.
Oh, you just stole that from us then. No, I'm joking.
Maybe.
So how's it going, Bob?
It's going great.
Good. So
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I just want to get right into the Men Becoming Better Men.
Yeah.
What was it that why was it you decided to start this? And I want to say a movement, more or less.
Well, okay. I wish it was a bigger movement.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, it's been pretty local so far. What got me into it was I came out of a divorce back in 2014. Throughout that almost 20-year marriage, I lost a lot of friends that, people that I had gone to high school with, college with, whatever.
Damn.
And under the means of making her happy. Right. Played that game, the nice guy, type of thing, let go a lot of those relationships. So then of course we had our married family relationships. Right. And of course with the divorce, you not only separate your finances and your children, and you separate your friends, right? Well, most of those friends were her friends. So here I am, divorced. My kids were going off to college, or she was actively trying to separate us from having a relationship at all, which is a whole nother level of my story. But so I'm basically alone, right?
Yeah.
And I started working with a coach, and one of the first things I learned in that process, I was about 45 at the time, that I hadn't been learning anything for decades. Now I graduated from college, and I felt like, oh, cool, I know it all. Don't need to worry about anything else. I'm just going to cruise on through the rest of my life. And little did I know what I didn't know. And a lot of that was, what I've dove into heavily over the last 10 years is the personal development space. And so I started reading. First book I read was No More Mr. Nice Guy, Dr. Glover. Blew my mind. Opened my eyes, blew my mind. Like, yeah, this is exactly what I've been doing for the past 20 years. Being a nice guy,
right?
Doing everything that she wanted to do, bending over backwards, trying to be, a provider and everything. And all it was doing was making me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up on antidepressants and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, man.
And so I read that book. Then I read a book called The Truth About Men by Devon Franklin.
Okay.
And one of the passages in that book, and I can remember it because I was walking down the street here out in front of my house, it hit me like a ton of bricks, is that men need to be in community with other men.
Absolutely.
And I'm standing there alone, walking down the street, trying to lose weight, trying to be healthy on my own, right? Because I was, my health was not great at the time either. And I'm thinking, okay, thanks for nobody. I'm 45 years old. Nobody told me this.
Right.
I'm doing it. I've been doing it alone for, I had a few friends in high school, and I wasn't like super popular or anything, but I had a few friends, and I had a few friends in college, and I always had small, tight tight groups of guys. But again, through that marriage and beyond, I had let them all go. I had, her friends and their husband, it was me and the husbands kind of thing.
Right.
And there were never tight, true relationships. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, and that's where my regret, going back to your earlier question, is I don't have a military background. I didn't learn that brotherhood that you guys get to learn and experience when you're going through the military. And
right.
I desperately was missing it.
Yeah.
And so I created it. And that's where Men Becoming Better Men came to be. We started up, it was actually, we started as a meetup, and it was going to basically, we were going to review the book, Truth About Men. We were going to go chapter by chapter, and I was going to
like a book club.
Yeah. Like a book club kind of thing. And then, honestly, by the grace of God, a gentleman showed up he didn't come to the first meeting, but he came to we were messaging between the first and second meetings. And he said, I've been part of men's groups out East for the past 20 years. I have a bunch of information and things I can share with you. Mm-hmm. And that's what morphed for Men Becoming Better Men to become what it was, a very strict, we had a very strict agenda. We've covered very specific things throughout the course of the thing. And the main piece of that, two main pieces. One was what we call our standards. Mm-hmm. Things like be on time, don't make things up.
Right.
Those type of things that you guys probably get drilled into in the military.
It's important stuff because it just makes you a better person.
Absolutely. But again, I didn't have that. I mean, right. I had a dad. My dad was great. He taught me to work hard.
Right.
He taught me to change spark plugs and oil changes and tires and work on cars and cut the grass and move piles of logs and cut down trees. My dad taught me a lot of practical stuff, but not that stuff.
Right.
So I feel very blessed in that I learned a lot of how to do things the right way, but I didn't know how to be the right way. So he brought me that. And then he also brought the other big part of the meetings was we'd spend time in small. The group ended up growing to be, we had like 25, 30 guys showing up every other week.
Wow.
And so we had to manage it. We couldn't, you can't have a deep conversation with 20 guys.
Right. So
we had to break it into smaller, and we would break it into smaller groups of 4 or 5, 6 guys. And we basically, it was a get it off your chest type of session. And we talk about, you get 5 or 10 minutes of an hour to talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you're having an issue with your spouse or at work or whatever it was, you could, word vomit all over.
So these aren't men that are going through divorce. They're just
not necessarily. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
There was married guys there too that were going through relationship issues though. I mean, a lot. I'd say it was probably more than 50% were guys coming out of divorce, because a lot of them were like me, where they were, you go to meetup groups if you're looking for connection, right?
Right.
So that was a big deal there. It ended up, we had, and actually the group is still going on. I've stepped away from it. Actually just recently, it kind of,
why is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it actually got to be too much for me to take on listening to these men that would come and they were getting things off their chest.
Yeah.
And it was good therapeutically for them.
But not for you.
But it was hard for me because they weren't growing. They were getting the same things off their chest week after week, month after month, year after year. And I want to be the type of person that's helping somebody grow and come up. And I was trying to subtly do that, but they weren't following.
Right.
So I've stepped away from that. I'm working on right now, kind of doing something a little different. I'm still doing it under Men Becoming Better Men. But that group does still exist. And I continue to support them, and hopefully they thrive and they get out of it what they need, because it was very effective for what it was.
Right.
I just want to take it to a different level for me, and what I'm trying to do going forward as becoming a full-time coach, transitioning eventually to a full-time coach. I have a full-time job, but I ultimately want to retire from that job and become coach full-time in my retirement years. Right. So that's the gist of that.
So what's the new one that you're working on?
Right now I'm hosting, and it's only a few weeks old. Hasn't gotten a lot of traction yet, but have you ever heard of F3?
F3. Why does that sound familiar?
F3 stands for Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. It's a national organization. They've been around. I don't even know how long they've been around, but it's a free workout for men, and you show up, you work out. Through the course of that, obviously, as you know, from military background, you work out and get sweaty with a bunch of men. You're going to grow in fellowship, right?
Right.
That's the second F, and then faith is a component of it too, where they want you to. They hope that you have a belief in a higher power, which whatever that is. And what they say is that the workouts end in a circle of trust. So again, that's that same component that I had in my meetings, where you kind of, if you need to get something off your chest, you need some brothers to come around you and have an issue that you need to talk to other men about. That's there for you. So I've been doing that, but that's not the answer to your question. The answer to your question is I've taken that model and I've created, right now I'm just doing a hike every other week.
A hike?
Yeah. I've got it in the meetup. I host a hike every other week.
Nice. Okay.
Could be depending on who shows up and how many show up. Could be an hour, could be 2 hours, whatever it is. But one of the things that I also got frustrated with the way the Men Becoming Better Men was, we'd sit in chairs in a circle and just talk.
And inside probably too,
inside.
Right? Yep.
Inside during the winter. Well, we're in Michigan here, so in the winter months, it's real tough to be outside sitting around in a circle. Even if you got a blazing fire going in the middle, you're still going to freeze your butt off. So
right.
So I kind of changed that around. Going on a hike, obviously, even if it's cold, you can be outside. You're moving around. I've actually been out there. It's been 15 degrees a couple of times, and I'm not cold at all. When I walk, it's not cold at all, because I'm walking, I'm talking. I'm engaged in the conversation. I don't even think about the cold. Yeah.
And it helps with your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I tell my wife this all the time, that if I don't get my workouts in, I get loony. I start, the old depression stuff that I have dealt with. I'm off the medication. I've been off it for years, but if I go too many days without a workout, it comes back hard and fast.
It's amazing how, when you work out, you go outside, even if it's like for a little walk or just to go outside. And one of the things I did, like in October, we have a butterfly bush out back. So if I couldn't walk around, I would just go out back, and we had a shitload of monarch butterflies.
Oh, nice.
And I would just watch them. And it's amazing how that actually helps.
Yeah. Men are meant to be connected to nature. That's how we're not meant to dwell inside. That's I think of that all the time when I hear that they talk about young boys and ADD and all that stuff. It's because you take them, you stick them in a classroom, you make them sit in a chair and not move.
I agree with that.
And try to make them learn crap.
Yeah.
And here's your example is perfect. Go outside and stare at a butterfly bush for an hour. You probably learn more than you will sit in a classroom.
The thing is, people don't understand, and I've told this story a couple times. When you go outside and you enjoy nature and just look at things and appreciate it more, it's amazing how much it can help. That same damn butterfly bush, I saw what I thought was a bumblebee at first. and it was one of those, I'm going to forget the name of it now. A hummingbird moth. You ever see a hummingbird moth?
I'm not sure I have.
It's
I've
like,
never heard that before. But.
Yeah, it may be a different name, but it looks like almost looks like a bumblebee, but it's a hummingbird, but smaller than a hummingbird.
Okay.
And I'm just watching it, and I reached out. The thing let me pet it.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I mean, it made my day. Made my day. Another time, went for a walk down by the local park. Always take bird feed because the squirrels will come up and eat from you and all that. And you got to be patient. But I put out my hand with seed in it. Carolina wren came down, landed in my hand, and started eating. I was like,
I have a similar story. My wife and I went to Colorado back last fall for a wedding, and we stayed. Actually, I'm wearing my Estes Park, repping Estes Park today. We had an Airbnb there, and we went out the first morning after we had checked in. There were some deer out back, and we had bought some pumpkin seeds for us to eat. She starts tossing them to these deer, and they're coming up closer and closer. She eventually, after some persistency, she got the deer to literally eat out of her hand.
Probably made her feel really good too.
Oh, it was insane. I've got video of it. She was pretty chill about it because she just loves animals. But I was amazed. I was like, how did you have the patience to do that? She was out there for a good hour, just sitting there.
And you said wife, so I take it. Well,
I'm remarried.
Obviously, you remarried.
Yes.
Now, how long have you been married now?
It's 2025, right? So I got to do the math. Almost 6 years. 2018. No, 7 years. 6 years, almost 7. Yeah.
I always got to do the math too.
Yeah, got to do the math, man. We're getting too old for that.
Yeah, I think so. No, I love this new venture that you're on because I think that's going to, especially with the hikes and everything, I think that's going to help out a lot more. The exercise, without a doubt, the faith. Actually, how many have you done so far? 2?
It's 2. Yeah, 2 so far. So
do you end it in prayer?
No, I haven't done that. It's a good thought though.
Yeah, why not?
It's a good thought. It depends on who shows. I don't tend to try to put. It's just like F3 doesn't pay. We don't push it on anybody. I want people to see God's love and be that light like we're supposed to be as disciples, and try to do the best I can to show the good parts of faith, not all the other stuff. So,
man, this is awesome. Though I'm glad you're doing that because when you said that you stepped away from men, God, I already forgot the name of it. That men becoming better men. I'm like, wait a minute.
No,
what's going on?
It's still going.
But now that you're doing something new, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people will build up something and then turn it over to somebody else and create something new.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I did it. Some of the guys didn't take it very well. They thought I was abandoning them, but
you got to work. Yeah, but you got to take care of yourself too.
Yeah, and I know there was other men out there that needed help in a different way as well. So. Yeah. And then the other part I didn't mention of what I'm doing on the hikes is, so I've got that list of the standards that we were using in Men Becoming Better Men. I'm using the period while we're walking to dive into one of those. So I'll provide the information of what that standard. Actually, I've changed them. I call them principles now, but that one of those principles, and we'll talk about it, what it is, and then as we're walking, the intention is to discuss it. Talk about how are you using that in your life? How are you not using that in your life? Where do you need to work on that in your life? And just kind of do more of an experiential type of learning. And as we walk and talk, instead of just sitting in a circle, reading it once and forgetting about it. Mm-hmm. I think because the struggle I had with even learning them in the first place, is we'd sit down in the circle and every 2 weeks we'd read them. Yeah. But that was it. There was no, and of course we learn better by experiencing things and doing things. So it's given me a much better, method or vehicle to help these men learn what these things are about. Now there's 18 of them. So 18 and every 2 weeks means you got to come hike with me for probably about a year straight to get them all. But we could, that's the slow way, or we could work together one-on-one and we can do it in a short period of time.
You'll feel a lot better when you're done and be healthier. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Mentally, physically, and spiritually healthier.
You mentioned, before, I guess with your first marriage, you said that you need to lose weight and all that as well.
Mm.
So if you don't mind me asking, how bad, as far as your health, how bad was that? We know your mental health. You already mentioned that.
Yeah. Physical health was, it was that typical, you get to the top of the stairs and you're like
out of breath. Yeah.
I hated that. I hated that. Actually, though, the other analogy I use is I got a very big maple tree in my backyard.
Ooh.
And it drops a heck of a lot of leaves. And so back 10 years ago when I was at my peak, I'm only 5'10", so 240 pounds was my peak. I remember being out there raking the leaves, and I'd be able to do it for a couple minutes and I'd have to stop, catch my breath. Probably took me 2 days.
Wow.
In pieces to get all those leaves and bag them up and take them to the street. Lost weight, started working out. I did CrossFit for about 4 years. I've transitioned out of that now because it was beating me up pretty good. I am 55, so it's a little harder to do that on a day to day. But yeah, now I can do it in like 3 hours. What used to take me 2 days to rake the leaves in the backyard. So that's just, and to me it was a frustration. I didn't like who I was becoming. Again, I always like to look at all three of those things: physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because back then I didn't know Christ either. So there's that's come into play here.
That makes a big difference too.
In the last 6 or 7 years, that's come into play as well. So it's been a full transition from 2014 when I got divorced till where we are now in 2025 with those three huge categories. And I'm sure I couldn't have done one without the other.
Right.
So it all worked out.
All right. So you said 240. Now, were you dieting or did you change your lifestyle? Because you mentioned the CrossFit.
I did both. Yeah, I was both. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was the proverbial couch potato.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't do anything. And again, that like I said, part of my mental health was getting into exercise. Mm-hmm. And now I know if I don't, I get,
you're miserable.
It goes down the hill fast.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't go right to miserable. I go about halfway there. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I haven't been to the gym in a couple of days, or I need to go for a walk, or I need to get outside, get some fresh air.
Feel like you're cheating yourself.
Yeah, actually I do. Yeah. You feel like you're cheating. If I don't go to the gym now, I feel guilty that I didn't go to the gym.
I'm the same way, man. I was up to 300 pounds and I did a diet. I was doing the DDP yoga, lost 50 pounds, hurt my back going into downward dog, stopped, put on the weight again. And then this time I changed my lifestyle. I didn't go on a particular diet, but I started counting my calories and started walking and exercising again. And I feel bad. I use this app called Noom. And, okay. And I feel bad if I miss a day.
Yeah.
It's like, or I forget to add. So I was like, well, I didn't add this. And, and what I love about it, you get treat days, not cheat days. Treat days.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, you feel so much better. My mental health is a lot better. My physical health is a lot better. I can see my toes.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And I'm not getting, like you said, I'm not getting out of breath when I walk up the steps and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me was the worst. Well, and the other big kicker was back in 2016, my doctor told me I was pre-diabetic.
That's why I changed everything.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going there, man. And I live right on the edge. Yeah. I still live right on the edge. And I'm thinking that's probably a lot of heredity.
Yep.
My dad's got it too. And, but I even with as much as I do, I don't work out every day, but I work out pretty soon, and I do watch what I eat. I try to, perfect example. Yesterday they had donuts at the office. I did not have one, and I didn't go to the office on Tuesday for Punchki Day either, so I missed them both.
For what?
So, in Detroit here, we've got the cat. I don't know if it's part Polish. There's a Polish community here in the Detroit area that they make these. It's a donut, but it's called a punchki.
Oh, okay.
And it's like this super high caloric thing that it's the point of it is that you're supposed to eat them the Tuesday. It's called Fat Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Eat them on Tuesday before Ash Wednesday so you can fast or whatever it is on Wednesday, which I don't personally do that, but it's just one of those traditional things. It's a big deal around here in Detroit. So but I dodge the donuts for 2 days. I avoid those type of things. But I'll have my treat days once in a while. My wife and I didn't feel like cooking last night. We had pizza last night. That was our treat day. And but today's back at being healthy and getting back to the gym. I got a workout tomorrow, and good to go.
I've become a big fan of the cauliflower pizza. Have you tried that yet?
We've tried it. It's not the same.
It's definitely not the same. But no, what I do, because we did a pizza making party for my niece's birthday. And of course, I took cauliflower crust over there for myself and my wife. A little bit of Alfredo sauce, the different cheeses and spinach. I only ate one slice. It's not bad. It's good. Yeah. And I mean, it's better than putting baked beans on your pizza. Like, my cousin did that. It's like,
no, thank you.
No, not a shot. If you don't mind me asking, because you also mentioned with going through your divorce, you said your kids were in college at the time.
My daughter was just graduating high school and going to college. My son was a couple of years behind.
And how did it affect them, if you don't mind me asking?
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. I try to not throw her under the bus too much, but she was doing a heck of a job trying to convince them that I was a horrible person. Making things up, telling them stories about and things that weren't true.
Right.
And there was a good chunk of time from when I was more or less forced to move out of the house before the divorce was actually final. That I didn't get to see them much. Our times got. My son was still playing ball at the time, so we got to spend a little more time than my daughter did. But but it was rough. I didn't see him much. Our times that for that period of time were basically we'd go out to dinner and spend an hour or two together, and that was it. And it was rough. It was difficult for all of us, and it took a lot of time and a lot of effort on my part to rebuild their trust in me and know that I'm still the same dad that I always was. And I'm always there for them. I do anything for them. I support them. They're thriving in their lives. So everything has worked out for the best, regardless of how we got there. It's worked out for the best right now.
And how's your relationship with them now?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Good. No, it's not. Obviously, it's not as tight as I'd want it to be, but they're also 28 and 25 at this point, and the 25-year-old's married and doing his thing already. So he's so they're in those years that again, kind of those in between years where yes, we've gotten away from mom and dad, but we're not quite to the point yet where we need them again for babysitting and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
So don't have any grandkids yet, but hopefully that's not too far off because I'm excited and looking forward to that.
Me too, man. I keep telling my son, it's like, come on, Bubba. I need some grandkids, man. I need the little one. And my daughter's still here. She works at a daycare, so she can change the diaper. I don't mind. It's just something that play with the little kids, though, And you can teach them things that don't. Never mind.
Yeah.
Now, so with your ex, do you talk to her at all?
I have not talked to her in
really.
Since 12 years.
Wow.
I tried to. My son got married just over a year ago. I tried to talk to her at the wedding, and she would not.
Right.
And that was 11 years after the fact. She still won't.
Wow.
Won't have a conversation.
See, and I hate to say it, but that's whether male or female, when you go through a divorce and you have kids, no matter what, you're going to be in each other's lives for the rest of your life. So why not work at it? Yeah. You know, it's just, I know it's hard for a lot of people. I mean, it's nuts. My son's mother and I she's actually in my in the Lions Club with me, but we get along better now than when we were together.
I have a couple of friends that have worse situations than me. And you think it's mostly the men, but actually I have a friend of mine that is a woman. She had her kids taken away completely. Ooh. And it's not like you would think if somebody told you that, like she was an addict or she had some type of situation. Not a thing. She's a teacher. She's a teacher that works out regularly, she runs, she does CrossFit, she does all these things. And somehow they squirreled her children away from her, all three of them. And it's been devastating. And it breaks my heart. Yeah. And then I have another friend that he went through a divorce. He ended up moving out of state and he's got no custody of his boys either. And one of them was only 12 at the time. And it breaks my heart to hear that a 12-year-old boy loses that influence of his father from age 12 to whenever. Right. And that those years are just so important for boys to be able to see that masculinity of their fathers and understand, not only hard work, but all those other things that, like I mentioned before, that we really should have and should learn from our fathers that, unless you're with them 24/7, you don't get that.
So I make sure I remember this right. So you were married for 20 years, right?
Almost. Yeah. 19.
19 years. Okay. So, and you met at the time, I guess you met who is now your wife.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. So after you guys were dating and you obviously you fell in love, otherwise but how hard was it for you to decide whether to get married again or not?
That was tough. That was tough. Yeah. I was very opposed to it at first. It became obvious after a few years. It was a few years. We dated, we actually lived together at points. But it was difficult because I didn't want to go through that, the trauma of the divorce.
Yeah.
Was a lot. And I really didn't want to go through that again, but eventually it became obvious that this woman is the best, and there's nobody else I want to be with. So might as well lock it down and.
Now, is this her first marriage? No. So what were her? Now, of course, she's not here for me to ask that question.
No, she was. I mean, she was fine. Actually,
really?
She was fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It actually just became a convenience for, honestly, insurance and financial situations. It just was much easier to connect in that way. I mean, we were living as if we were married, so it didn't.
Right.
It was just the license and the ability to commingle funds and be on my insurance and all that other kind of stuff. So it was.
Now, does she have kids as well?
Yeah.
So now you have your two kids, and how many stepkids?
Two. They're both, and ironically, the girls are older and they're about the same age, and the boys are about the same age.
Really?
Yeah. So same 2 and 2, same sexes, same ages. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I guarantee, I know you, because you just looking at you, it seems like, and this is the first time meeting, but it seems like you're really happy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, of course, things can always be better, but we got no complaints right now. Dealing with a little health stuff on her side, but nothing we're not gonna be able to handle, and just doing the best to live and love and experience. We love to travel. We like to get out and do stuff, and just basic experience, like we were talking about, experienced life in the outdoors and people.
That's good.
And God's creation and all that. So.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I've been talking about them for years, and I will keep talking about them. It's a company that I trust for my home exterior needs. Tar Heel Construction Group. When it came time to replace my roof, I didn't hesitate. I called Joe Ayler at Tar Heel Construction Group. They were professional, timely, and most importantly, they did an incredible job. The new roof looks amazing, and I know it'll last for years to come. Their quality and attention to detail are unmatched. But here's the thing. I'm not stopping there. I'm already planning to use them again for my siding and gutters. Why? Because I trust them. Tar Heel Construction Group has earned my loyalty by delivering exactly what they promised. High quality work, excellent communication, and a commitment to customer satisfaction. If you're thinking about tackling any exterior home improvement project, whether it's roofing, siding, or gutters, or even solar, give Tar Heel Construction Group a call. I've used them, and I'll keep recommending them and use them again in the future. Check them out at tarheelconstructiongroup.com or call them today at 410-638-7021. So this new venture that you're taking, is she doing it with you as well, or is this something that's it's still strictly for men?
Yeah, strictly men.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my jam. She's got her things that she works on as well.
Right.
So, but it's my way to get out. And not only to fuel myself, but to give back.
So what's your ultimate goal for this new venture? How big would you like to see it get?
Actually, I don't want it to get big. Actually, that was another downside of the other group. Because we had upwards of 40 or so active members at any given time.
Right.
So it was very challenging to remember every man's story, and be able to touch base with every man over a period of time. It got pretty cumbersome. So that was a challenge. I'd like to, my ultimate vision of this new group is that we get maybe 7, 8, 9 guys that are dedicated to be in there every week and be in there and wanting to have the conversations and lock arms, lock shields, whatever you want to call it, build a brotherhood that, we can, you probably have military brothers that, guys that you've been through some stuff with that
yeah, and we still stay in touch.
Yeah, you'd do anything for them, right? That's what I want to build. That's ultimately what I want to build, a tight core group of guys that I can, as a 55-year-old man, I just want some men I can rely on for the next 20 or 30 years and rely on each other and hold each other up and hold each other accountable to be better men and be great fathers and husbands and grandfathers and whatever else that may entail.
So with the men becoming better men, did you ever think about maybe starting other chapters?
I've tried to do it online. It's a couple times I've tried to do it online. Actually did okay. Had 4 or 5 guys last fall. We were doing online. But it's good, but it's not, I'm more of a in-person type person.
Oh yeah.
We actually do, I learned a lot during COVID too, because we were running Men Becoming Men during COVID online, and it just wasn't the same. I mean, once we were finally to be able to get back in person together, it made all the difference, because you can only do so much online. You can only get so much of I'm big on energy and vibration and being able to read people, and that's hard to do sometimes through a screen. So being able to be in proximity to people is obviously the key. But I have tried it. I've always been looking for people to quote unquote build a chapter, kind of expand in that way, kind of like either Mankind Project's done it. There's another group called Men's Group, but that's more of an online thing. I know there's a lot of other organizations around the country where men they're doing that and having in-person groups like that together, but it's never taken off. So
have you, because you still do the coaching, right?
Yeah.
But all that's in person?
It can be. It can be. I've had clients that are obviously not local to me, so that's
all right. Good.
That's challenging, but not challenging, but just
because you got to do it virtually.
You got to do it virtually. Yeah. No, it depends on who the person is and what their preference is. Actually, I had a new client interview the other night, and he was insistent. He's like, "Yeah, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it in person because that's how I work best."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And then I've had other people. Actually, a client I just finished up with a client. He was very insistent on we're only going to do it over the phone.
Right.
He didn't like being on video. He didn't, he just liked talking over the phone. So it was, and he was actually local. So we just got on the phone. It depends on what the person's comfortable. I'm flexible and comfortable in any of those modes, but it just depends.
Yeah. With the Men Becoming Better Men and what you're doing now, personally, I think you're sitting on a gold mine here. And because it's
on my bank account.
Well, no, but men are always, they don't like to reach out and ask for help if they need it.
Nope, not at all.
And I think with this, if it could, like, all right, I'm putting this out there. So let's say somebody wanted to start their own group in another state.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be open to being a mentor for them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I do it in art. I've wanted, that's something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I haven't pushed it a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I think I've maybe by pushing it at all, I think maybe I've put a Facebook post out in my private, I have a private Men Becoming Better Men group on Facebook as well. I think I may have thrown it out there a time or two if anybody ever wants to, but nobody ever took me up on it. And I'm sure I got distracted with something else, but yeah, I'd absolutely do that. Actually, I've partially written a book. I was gonna
ask you about that.
At one point, I was gonna a book on how to,
right?
But that also dovetailed in with me making a decision a couple months ago that I was going to step away from it. So I've kind of got this half-written book about how to do this group that I'm no longer doing. So, but yeah, it's not. I'll tell you right now. It's honestly, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Just to have kind of some fundamental principles that you go. I kind of it depends if you want to do that. Sit down in a circle, word vomit kind of thing. That that's one thing. If you want to do the interactive, experiential, you can go either way. You can. Mm-hmm. It's really you built it to be whatever you want it to be, but you're right as far as it is needed. And it's actually funny you mentioned that because it's one thing I just right before you, I had a call with my coach,
right,
talking about that conversation I had the other night. And he reminded me that men need to be, you got to put the mirror up, really. It's like, here's how this is how you're being, brother. This mm-hmm. is what I see. And don't take it the wrong way. I'm not judging you, but this is what I see you're doing. And you're not being, I don't even think you're trying to be the type of man that you want to be. You want to be strong. You want to be decisive. You want to be a leader, and you're not being, and you're demonstrating that maybe in one part of your life, but you're not demonstrating that where it really matters, which is at home. Because, as we talked about the number of divorced men that I worked with, that's where we've fallen down. And I was the same way. I mean, that was the biggest part of my first marriage was I was not being assertive. I was not being a leader. I was letting her dictate and do the things that, maybe not dictate, just letting her drive the bus more or less.
Right.
What do we want for dinner? What do we want to do? Where do we want to go on vacation? What do we want? And it was always that. Mm-hmm. It was never, this is what I want to do, and here's how we're going to do it. And taking that, and a lot of times what I've learned is that women, that isn't what they want. They want to be led. They want, they want to be told, we're going to go here on vacation, or we're going to go here for dinner tonight, or, to be led and just make, and they got so many other things, decisions and things they're dealing with kids, they're dealing with parents, they're dealing with all that other stuff. They need things taken off their plate, and they don't want to have to deal with it all. they will step it up. If you're not stepping up as a man and as a leader of your household, they will step up and do it. And that's when you get relegated to sit on the couch and go to work, bring home the money, and I'll take care of everything else. That's not where they want to be deep down inside. They may think that challenges them to want to step up. They absolutely, and they will do that, and they'll take that charge. And I applaud them for it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it.
Right.
Because when the man's not stepping up, somebody's got to lead.
Yeah.
But they don't, that's not what women are built for.
Yeah.
They're built to take care of the things that the men are take care of their things. It's I haven't memorized them, but if you Google feminine and masculine energies, there's things that men are supposed to be doing that women are doing, and there's things that men are doing that women should be doing. It's a very interesting, if you look at the lists, how much we're changing.
Oh yeah,
jumping into each other's spaces that we shouldn't be jumping into.
Right.
And if we were to stay in our spaces, there'd be a lot more synergy and a lot more moving forward and growing and happiness and peace versus the constant
headbutting.
Yeah,
you don't want to do that.
Why are you not doing this? And
yeah. So I did notice. What was the last one? February 10th, I think. The podcast. Are you going to be starting
my last
that
podcast?
Yeah. Are you going to be starting that? Continue doing that?
No, actually. I'm definitely on a pause.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I figured having Dr. Glover as my final guest on the show was a pretty awesome way to put a pin in it. He's one of my heroes. He's one of my mentors. I learned so much from him. I would not be where I was today had I not picked up that book 12 some odd years ago. And it's just, as far as I love doing the podcast, but I hate doing the podcast. You probably get that a little bit. And the biggest thing, actually, and the funny story is that the gentleman I talked to the other night, he'd done listening to my podcast for 2 years. That I never heard from him until all of a sudden, one day, about a week ago, he emailed me and said, "I've been listening to you for 2 years.
Wow.
Can we have a conversation?" I was like, "Absolutely." But he's only the second person that I've ever
heard from
reach out to me. And I've got 8,000 downloads of that podcast over its entirety of its existence. And I've had 2 people. So that's where I say it's fun. It's fun to do it. I love putting out the content. I love sharing the tools and the things, the thoughts, things that I know and that mean a lot to me. But the hardest part for me was the feedback. I rarely get, and maybe you experience this too. You don't get a lot, and I don't do it either. I'll be honest. I'll listen to one of my favorite podcasts is Trip Lanier. Mm-hmm. I've listened to tons of his podcasts. I did reach out to him once, but most podcasts I can listen to a podcast and love it, and I won't respond. I won't rate it or do any of that stuff. I consume. We're so, this
like reading a book, right? You're just soaking it in.
Exactly. I just soak it in and then I go on to the next one. I don't think to go and hit it or provide any feedback or whatever. But yeah, just to not get any feedback. I once in a while, like somebody, I think there's been like people at church or people in the men's group that would, "Hey, I really like that episode." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Oh, great. Thanks." We're supposed to have a deeper conversation about it, not just, and that's probably my fault too. I was like, "What do you like about it?" And try to get in deeper, but, just not getting the feedback was pretty tricky. And I don't know if I'll go back.
It is. It's, cause I've been doing mine for 10 years and you don't get feedback all the time. No. But when sometimes you get negative feedback. That'd be better feedback than none. Well, that is true.
I'd rather get negative than none.
I've had 2. that I could think of, I've only had 2 that were negative feedback.
Oh, that's awesome. In 10 years.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't get them all the time, but the ones I get, it just, and I'll never forget this one because we did when we were talking to somebody that's in recovery, and I had somebody from Canada contact me and thanked me for that episode because he had a daughter and he didn't know what to do. She was in addiction. He had no idea what to do. And that,
see, that's a blessing.
Yeah. So it's the little things like that help out. Now, keep in mind, I do it because I love learning. Yeah. I love learning from other people. And I can't think of an episode where I've done where I haven't learned something, but all, and sometimes you get some weird people. I don't want to say, let me rephrase that. You'll get some people that want to come on and you're like, well, what do you want to talk about? Well, I don't know.
We'll just have a conversation.
Yeah. I had to laugh because that pizza party, my great niece and nephew, they're like 10 and 6. They're like, Uncle Richie, we want to come on your podcast. I said, okay. What do you want to talk about?
Pizza.
I don't know. It's like, well, you got to talk about something. And of course, my youngest niece, she's like, John Cena. I was like, what is now, this is before the heel turn, so she probably wouldn't want to now. But, oh, yeah, it's – and I've even had other people reach out to me. Like one guy, he's like, man, I want to come on your podcast. I said, yeah, it's fine. What do you want to talk about? Well, let's talk about the politics. I said,
no.
I don't talk that. Nope, I don't talk that. My thing is I want to raise awareness, and I want to learn – because if I'm learning, then I know my listeners are learning.
Yeah.
And I just the funny thing is with this, and you probably experience it, especially using Podmatch. This is like networking. You meet so many different people, and you stay in touch with them. Yeah. I've had a lot of people on that I've met through Podmatch that have been on multiple times. And it's great. And I know you're going to be back, especially when you finish that book.
I'm going to write that down. Rich says I have to finish the book.
Bob's like, really, Rich? No, but the thing is, because what you do, and I've talked to other people, and actually, I had 2 young ladies on that started a business called Sincerely Divorced. And they do group meetings, and it's strictly with men or women that are divorced. Yeah. Because a lot of people are lost. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. That's a great concept.
Yeah. So, and I've been mentoring them and cause they asked me, he said, well, we don't know how to make money from it. I said, well, number one, a book, sell little books. When you're doing these and they're meeting in person, I said, sell your books there, get some merch. That always helps. Get some speakers in, charge for these things that you're doing. There's so much you can do. Start a podcast, get sponsors for it, whatever you want to do. And, or turn it into a nonprofit. I think the nonprofit part would be harder though.
Yeah.
But they're doing great with it.
That's awesome
so far. And you're the first, I think you are the first one that I've heard of men that, because you have gone through, started it mainly for, you're the first one I've heard of. And I've had somebody else on, I forget his name already, through Podmatch. Because that's how I found out about Dr. Glover's book. No more Mr. Nice Guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I keep thinking of Alice Cooper. And I forget the guy's name. God, he's going to yell at me. It wasn't Nicky. Oh, man. Shoot. Now I'm going to have to go back and do my research.
Yeah, it's all right.
I forgot. So if somebody wants you to coach them, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, menbecomingbettermen.com. Also on Instagram as the Relationship Engineer. You can reach out to me that way as well.
I like that.
Yeah, that's my slant on life coach is Relationship Engineer, and that's really about strengthening marriage, building stronger relationships, and helping men align their ambition with integrity, so that they can, live their lives in alignment with who they want to be, what they want to be, and also not just pour everything into their life and their business, but into their families and their relationships and marriages as well.
All right, how'd you come up with that title?
Relationship engineer?
Yeah, I love that.
Actually, it was relationship coach. Obviously, was kind of the first thought, right? Because my coach has kind of made sure, helping me hone my niche. So it was relationships, and then my day job for the past 30 some odd years has been in the automotive industry, and I'm not an engineer by trade, but I work with engineers a lot, and I oversee the design and manufacturing processes.
Oh, wow.
For car parts for the last 30 years. So engineering is a big piece of my life. So I just stuck those two things together, and it sounded pretty cool, and people seem to like it. So that's where we went.
Oh, wow. I like it, man. All right. So, but now with the Men Becoming Better Men, you're still keeping that website, right?
Yeah. Men Becoming Better Men is it's kind of the AKA or the DBA, I guess you call it, is what I'm business doing. It's not the name of my business. My business was generated a few years ago, and it's got a different name that's irrelevant to men's work. So Men Becoming Better Men, I came up with when I started the group, and that's kind of my what I'm working as, and as the organization. And it obviously tells you exactly what I'm about and what I'm trying to do. So if you don't, there's no question when you look at that, it's like, okay, well, I see what he's trying to do.
All right. So before I get to my last question, is there anything you would like to add?
I don't know. I think we've covered an awful lot. Basically, I think probably the only thing is that just what I like to work with people on is an acronym that I came up with here just very recently. It was EMPOWER. I want to empower men to be better men. And those all stand for, the letters all stand for something different. It's environment, which is what's going on around us, where we're at in our lives. I'll call it the cleanliness of our environment. What we're putting into our, putting our bodies but into our minds as well. There's mindset, obviously, huge part of it. That's the M. P, purpose. Like I said, I got to the point in my first marriage. At that point in time, I was like, okay, I no longer have a relationship. My kids are grown to the point where they don't really need dad on a day-to-day basis anymore. I've had this career for 20 some odd years that I could keep doing that in my sleep pretty much. Right. What else is there? What else am I? I can't just go to work and come home for the next 40 years. What else am I supposed to do? And I realized, wow, what is this about? And what am I supposed to be doing? So purpose after. It's kind of purpose after kids. It's like, what are we supposed to be doing? You've obviously fallen in love with podcasting, huge part of your purpose on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of guys, like I said, the gentleman I talked to the other day, he's like, I've been doing this job and I've been married, but now I'm getting to the point where my kids are graduating and I don't know what to do. Right. I don't know what I want. What I need to fill my time with something. And of course, retirement is not far off. So, you don't want to be, one of those men. I talked to my doctor about this. My last appointment, I was like, you're probably getting close to retirement, aren't you, doc? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep going. Yeah. I will keep going because I've known as a physician, saying that he's known other physicians who have retired and fallen over dead within a year.
I know a lot of people that have done that. Period.
And there's men in general. We lose that purpose in our life. We got to get up and go to work. That's our purpose every day, all the time. And you get to the point you get to 65 or whatever, you get to retirement. It's like,
yep. That's how I said I'll be 100 years old and still be doing this.
Yeah.
My guest won't understand what the hell I'm saying, but yeah, I mean,
yeah. So you gotta wait something to keep going. Next is opportunities, which is growth. Leaning into that personal growth space and keeping growing instead of becoming stagnant. Because if we're not growing, we're doing the opposite, right?
Right.
We're dying. Well-being, which is health. Obviously, you and I both have a big piece of that with our weight loss journeys and being healthy and exercise and all that stuff. Elevation is just kind of a word that I threw in there to mean moving all of those categories, moving them up.
Always achieve the climb higher.
Yeah. And then the last one's resources. Who do I need in my corner to help me with what it is I want to do? And that purpose thing is figuring out what you want to do. And then the resources, how do I get it done? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to know?
I like that.
Yeah. So empowering men to be better men.
You got to put it on a shirt.
Yeah. I have men becoming better men shirts, but they don't have that on them yet.
Well, there you go. There's more merch for you, man.
I'll have to add some to it. Yeah.
All right. So for my last question, for men that are actually listening right now who feel stuck, what's the very first step they should take to start shifting their mindset?
First thing, I could go so many. There's so many but I gotta say the first thing for me was getting moving, getting off the couch, getting outdoors, like we talked about. The fundamental piece of my weight loss journey, obviously counting calories was a big piece of it, but getting moving. And like I said, I'd walk up a flight of stairs and get winded, and I got the Fitbit, watch step counter. I just started counting my steps, and I started with a goal of 5,000 a day. And over time, as I did that day after day after day for a couple of weeks, and I grew it to 7,500 and eventually to 10,000.
Nice.
And I was doing, 10,000 steps a day. And as of course I'm reducing my calories, increasing my movement. So therefore the weight started coming off. I got to a point, and again, in my neighborhood here's got a lot of memories for me. I from that time when I was going through it. I remember I was just here over behind my house and walking down, and I was like, and I hadn't run in decades.
Right.
So, knees hurt, everything. And I was walking along one day and I was like, God, you know what? My knees really feel good. I bet you I could run. And I just picked up the pace and I started jogging a little bit. And of course that got me in my 10,000 steps faster that day.
Yeah.
But what that prompted me to do then was I was like, I wonder if I could learn how to run better. And I found an app called Couch to 5K. C2 5K, I think is what the app's called. And it is a running track. It's like, how much do you walk versus run? It basically gave you this periodic cadence of, run for a minute, walk for a minute, run, and it built you up to where you could, have a consistent pace for running a 5K race. And I did that. And so from April of 2016, I started doing that. And by Thanksgiving, I ran my first 5K that year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
So
I have to try that.
So getting up, and then doing that, then parlayed into, I started CrossFit, which was is a whole nother. That's a whole other level, right?
Yeah.
But I loved it. I loved doing CrossFit at the beginning. Yeah, it hurt a lot at the beginning, but it was getting into that. Not only was it, getting out and exercising, but that community aspect of it too, meeting people, talking to people, rebuilding relationships that I had, lost or didn't have, from the divorce part of it. So again, getting out there, just getting, and I understand a lot of it. And especially, through COVID, we got, the isolation, living in isolation is just,
a nightmare.
We all know how it feels. It feels horrible. But I guess to answer your question succinctly, the important part is taking action. Yeah. Take an action. Do something today that you didn't do yesterday that's going to make you feel better, whether it's getting out and exercising, whether it's watching what you eat, reading, learning, getting outside. So many options, but you got to take action.
I think I'm going to have to look for a pair of running shoes. Now. I can't even tell you the last time I ran. But when you mentioned that, the walk and the jogging and the running, it reminded me of a time when I was in the Corps, we were down in Virginia training the SEALs and the midshipmen, and our gunnery sergeant was very gung-ho. Vietnam vet.
They usually are.
Yeah. And it was like 103 degrees that day, the heat index.
Oh,
and you're which means you're not supposed to be outside exercising.
Yeah, right.
Gunny's like, it doesn't matter.
Not when you're a Marine, dude.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to show these squids how to do it. So we went out there, and he said we were going to do 13 miles. I was like, what? He said, make sure you have your canteens full, all that. And so not in shorts, we had gear on. And the way he did it, we would start off marching, get up to a jog, start running, slow down the pace, and then walk in and stop, do calisthenics. Yeah. And then pick it back up again. And I don't think anybody fell out, but it was good. It felt good. Would I do it now? Not a shot in hell, man. If I could, I would. But
the last time I ran 13 miles, I did a half marathon back in 2019, and it messed my knees up and my feet up so bad that I really can't run anymore. I run very small distances now at a very, very slow pace.
Yeah, I'm the same way, from here to the mailbox. And that's actually right out my front door.
I actually last Saturday, as part of my F3 workout, we did one lap around the track, around the football, so 400 meters. Yeah. And that my heart rate was pretty kicking after that one lap, and that's about as far as I went. Then we proceeded to do a bunch of other stuff for about 30 minutes after that, which was challenging too, but it felt really dang good when it was done.
Well, you gave me encouragement, number one, to get out there hiking again, because my wife's been asking you to go hiking. I just need a good pair of hiking boots.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do it in sneakers, which, that's easy to find.
Get a nice pair of hiking boots.
And we have a lot of places around here where we can go hiking. So I'm definitely.
I didn't ask you. Where are you?
Oh, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, right on the Chesapeake Bay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like, you can go a couple hours to the beach. Actually, not even a couple hours, because we got little beaches here. You go a couple hours to the mountains.
Nice.
It's like we're everywhere. Got our good old snakehead fish. We can. That's another story. So, Bob, thanks a lot, man. And
thank you, Rich.
Anytime you want to come back on, man, the door is open.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going.
Hey, Hartford County, I'm Emily Adolph of The Soul Lift. You may remember me as a guest on Rich's podcast. Well, I'm back with something special.
And I'm Ona Crow. We're introducing Nourish and Connect, a gathering space designed to bring people together that feels authentic, supportive, and uplifting.
This is about real relationships, shared wisdom, and growth.
Our gatherings nourish with mindful experiences and reflective activities to leave you inspired.
And they're designed to connect with intentional conversations and welcoming community where you truly belong.
They're the second Wednesday of every month. Join us on April 9th at Doss Beer Hall in Bel Air from 5:30 to 7 p.m. to celebrate spring.
And mark your calendars for May 14th and June 11th. We have amazing experiences planned for summer.
Come as you are, and let's grow together.